Welcome to another Quantum Conversation. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome to another episode in this Quantum Conversation Summit Series, Timelines. And my guest today brings a remarkable perspective to timelines as we talk about animal communication and timeline mastery. We're going to learn all about that and how when we listen to animals, we find our master self. Let's welcome Laurie Moore for this beautiful conversation that we're going to have. Laurie is a animal communicator, a human communicator. She has a vast experience in the healing arts, and she's been working with animals. She's an author of a book, and she has been featured on many news networks and summits, and she has a wealth of information to share with us today. Let's welcome Dr. Laurie Moore. Hi, Laurie.
Thank you. Thank you, Loren. It's so nice to be in your spacious, open, warm heart energy, and you're bringing in Costa Rica with you, and you and Costa Rica are resonating so beautifully. I just feel delighted and kind of enveloped in this lovely energy. Thank you so much.
Well, we are feeling your energy too. When we were just chatting, you have been weaving your light in the desert, in the beautiful islands of Hawaii and now California and so much more. So what a beautiful journey and what mastery you've brought to the planet. Your background is really quite remarkable with all the healing arts training that you've had. And I love what we're talking about today as far as timelines. So as we start, can you share your definition of how the animals really help us to jump timelines, and perhaps what does that mean?
Yes, it's a good question because people are now using the word timeline so easily, but are we all referring to the same thing? And when I'm referring to timelines, we live in a multitude of realities from now in this moment, what we're sensing, but we're also sensing it because of our capacity to have been in many experiences infinitely before and after. And when we look and feel and watch carefully, many of these experiences continue. There's energetic repercussive waves. We're being asked to clean up something from the past, enjoy the moment now, generate something into the future. And we are having multiple opportunities as this is such a rapid time, and the kind of energies that are on the planet now with the cellular and the internet, so different than the energies of nature, are causing us to have to reconfigure everything. Why is this in my imagination? How come I'm picking up on this person now? What does this have to do with anything? And the animals bring us right back to the unconditional love, the now that includes everything. Sometimes people say, let's be here now, and they're talking about a very small sensory now. And that's a beautiful space to be in. But we're also in many awarenesses at once. And the animals just let that be. They let that be. So when we want to communicate with animals, we have to be on the wavelength of unconditional love. And in that unconditional love, all these timelines I'm talking about are healed. They're brought back to what they were really meant to be, a harmonious goodness.
That's fascinating. So there's some stories that we're going to share, and I've got some stories with animals that are really remarkable. So really the unconditional love from animals is healing timelines, because what? It's bringing us into presence. Is that what's happening?
It's bringing us into presence now, and the more deeply we're in the now, anything that's unresolved, especially at this time in history, it's just all coming up, all coming up. What hasn't been finished? What's in our bones? What's in our DNA? What's in the Mother Earth? We're talking about everything from physical pollution to the emotional, spiritual pollution that is still in us. And if we don't identify it as us, but we're willing to clean it up, or we identify everything as us, either viewpoint works, but we're willing to shift it, clean it, we harmonize it, life changes. And the animals have a powerful love energy, and to be with them and understand them and embrace them, we go to that love energy. They bring that back in us. And when we're in that love energy, often we're asked to start changing whatever isn't resonant with that now, which affects the past and the future.
So, what do we need to do to center ourselves and open up to communicate with animals then?
Just love. It's so simple that we don't really need to do anything but be what we essentially were created to be. We were born as love. We are love. If we forgot, just feel the love for a moment and then we're with the animals.
And would you say that because the animals are in unconditional love, that they're in, well, they're definitely in another dimension, maybe a fifth dimension? How would you describe that?
Well, like people, it depends on the animal. The fifth dimension is the very lovely unconditional love dimension, but there's so many dimensions beyond that too. There's a dimension where we start to know oneness, not as a concept, but we just know, oh, the angels and the masters and the beings speaking through me and the animals talking to me. It's one. And then we each have an individual soul and unique way within that. But that's a very palpable feeling. It's like a knowing experience. When you're aware of that, you just know it, you trust it, logic isn't going to defy it. And there are many animals who operate from this. I think more animals than not, but sometimes I wonder, because of course the people who call me are in a certain vibration, and so their animals got them to call me usually. And so I used to think all animals were like this, but then when I moved to the desert, I met some insects, and I had enlightened insects in my home in California. I mean, very awakened, who were teaching me. But I got to the desert and I met some insects who were not vibrating like that. And they had a kind of a bit of a hide and seek war spirit mentality. So I at that point in my life, I thought, oh, okay, so maybe some animals are doing something very different. But I sure have met a lot of animals that stay in that awakened unconditional love. Yeah.
Wow, okay. So this is interesting. How does one begin if we're in unconditional love? And
Yes.
if we come across an animal, there's differences between house pets and animals out in nature, birds and such.
Yeah.
And it really takes an astute mind to stay focused on this unconditional love, because I can sense that maybe fear can come up, or we could project something, maybe thinking that if we find a bird, for example, on the ground, that that bird needs rescuing or help. And so then we're out of that unconditional love. So it would seem like it really takes that centered focus for unconditional love. So when we're there, then what's the next step for communicating?
Well, what I'm hearing you talking about is letting your mind be in service to the universal heart through your personal heart. And that's beautiful. And yes, that's what we're talking about. Because when we reverse it and we try to get our heart to be in service to our mind, the mind just is kind of selfish if it's left to itself, right? That's the nature of the mind. But if the mind is uh, consciously nudged, invited, urged, helped to go be just a microphone for the heart, be in service to the heart, then we're in this unconditional fifth dimension space you're talking about. So how do we communicate with animals if we put ourselves in that heart place and we are in gratitude to an animal, just like we would be in gratitude to a person or an angel or a tree or anyone, then that opens a space up for real communication. Now, if we add to that gratitude, no expectation, nobody has to be anyone. You don't have to talk to me. You can talk to me. What you're going to share with me is totally open. Then animals and people like to share because they're feeling loved and embraced. And I think that's the way we're all meant to be. And I think, well, what I found when I used to, I'm not taking groups anywhere now, but for many, many years, I took groups to Hawaii and I went to other countries and I worked with groups and I'd ask people, please just put it all aside, all your ideas about who anyone else here is, and listen to them and assume when they're sharing, it's the most important thing in the world right now. And it has everything to do with you. And you don't have to agree or disagree. We're just going to drop those concepts and see what happens. And people were going into awakened states. They were actually going into unconditional love and oneness states by this practice when they would do it. It's the simplest practice in the world. It's the hardest because we're trained to do otherwise. So the next step is to be available to hear, see, feel. Feel can be emotion. Feel can be other realms. Feel can be sensation. Whatever comes in to the heart from the one you are beholding, animal or person.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. That's beautiful. Then the next step is for someone who's new at this
Yes,
is to trust what we're getting.
yes,
So there's something about the moment that information comes in, right? Talk a little bit about this because if we wait too long, then that mind comes back in again.
yes.
What's yes.
Quickly we'll modify the information if we don't trust it. And so there's a great balance of trusting it, and then people have doubt. Doubt isn't a bad thing because we can make things up that aren't correct. So ask for affirmation. Ask for the light, the universe to give affirmation, and ask for that specific animal to give affirmation. And they will find a way. When I was first doing this more consciously, as opposed to I just did have a repertoire with animals my whole life, but I called for animals to be my teachers. And that whole many months following, all kinds of animals showed up at the house, hawks and ravens who became close friends, hummingbirds. Um, there was a bobcat, deers, all kinds of animals. Sometimes dogs would just come in the house, and like I remember being on the phone and I felt someone furry, and I looked around. The dog was just like, "You said you were looking, you wanted to talk." And there was a seminar in the house. There were lots of people, and when it finished, I said, "Oh, who does this dog go with?" And everyone said, "Not me, not me." And the dog just said bye and walked. The dog came when the seminar began. It was an animal communication seminar. The dog came to the
Yeah.
seminar. And when it ended, the dog left. We had that with birds. We had birds come in. We had birds come to events and sing with us. So affirmation, what I'm getting to is, I remember in Molokai going to the ocean and saying, just calling out. It wasn't out loud, but I called out from my heart. Hey, if I'm just making all this up, I need to know now. I'm feeling a need. I'm a human. I have some doubt. I need some affirmation. And right then, I didn't even know there were going to be whales there. We had just arrived, and a whale went like this for about 30 minutes.
Wow.
Another time, a lizard. I was on a walk with someone, and I was talking to the lizard, and I said, "Am I really getting this?" And the lizard crawled up and spent about half an hour of the hike with us on my shoulder. So and I could go on and on. There's been so many amazing stories. Maybe I'll tell more through this interview, but affirmation will come. And if you're not getting it, affirmation will come too. If you're in projecting onto an animal what they're saying, that they will let you know too if you ask. Yeah, yeah.
So would you say it's really important to, again, slow down and be centered and get out of the head?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you run a beautiful balance because you're so grounded and yet you're in your heart. And like you said, you're using your mind in service to your heart. So that you're just demonstrating it perfectly. That kind of a spacious, open, embrace, ground. That's like how you're talking to me. You're treating me so beautifully the way animals and people wish to be treated. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That really, it's a beautiful lesson in life to show up in love,
Yeah.
unconditionally. love
Yeah.
for ourselves and for others. And then that world opens up to us.
Yeah.
I do love that. So we're going to go into some stories because I'd love to hear some more examples that you've got. It's just amazing that it's such validation. And so when we're talking about jumping timelines, oh my gosh, do you have any examples of that?
Let me think about that carefully. Let me tell a story. A Beatles coming in who wants the story shared, and I will talk about how this is related to jumping timelines. And so, um, this beetle was so beautiful, beautiful shell, and would not literally knock on the door. And I would let the beetle in one summer, and they can make a loud knock with their shell.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I was amazed.
Well, I think it's amazing that you heard that. Most people would not, it wouldn't register.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah, right. A beetle's at the door. Yeah. So, I remember one day I was practice. I sing and I'm singing, and there's my ex partner, and next to him my cat, next to my cat this beetle. They were all listening. It was a very lovely memory. Well, when we moved, um, the day of moving, uh, this beetle passed over, and so when we were finishing packing up, purposely left, the body, so I would find that body. um, and we say goodbye, we let beings leave their body, we can stay in touch. But a few months later, my partner was calling to me, and he said, "Look who's here!" This beetle reincarnated. This beetle knocked on the door, and he let the beetle in. And when the beetle and I saw each other, um, this beetle flew over to me and just landed on my leg and stayed there for hours. It was a very beautiful reunion. It was clearly the same soul had found.
Wow.
Um, the It was amazing. Ravens found us 20 miles away from the other house, and
Wow.
writer named Jason Jasona, who used to live on the stairwell. I like everything clean, but I'm not the kind that I don't really want spiders, webs, and dust and stuff like that all over my home. But this spider was a friend, and so this spider, I was in agreement. We were in agreement. The spider could spin webs and live on the stairwell. Well, the same thing happened when we were moving. That spider said, "I'm going to be going," and I was so upset, and I said, "Oh, okay." And that spider just kind of died on the web the next night. They're so magic. Well, it took many, many months for Jason Jasona to come back. But one day I was meditating in the living room in the new home, and something fell into my palms. It looked like a tiny little blanket made out of spider web. And I looked up, same thing. Jason Jasona had reincarnated. Now, people might think I'm out of my mind, and that's okay. I because, like we're talking about, I'm giving my mind to my heart. So people might be wondering, why do you think it was them? Well, I've been through cat reincarnations, and when there are, with myself and many clients, and many clients, many people have cats and dogs that don't reincarnate. But I've been through enough. I have so many magic stories about those that I can say when a soul returns, if you knew that soul really well, a soul is a soul, and they can have a new costume and a new color, and even our personalities shift a bit, but our character and our resonance and our way of doing things and the talents we built are the same. And we make it very clear when it's us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so, thank you for sharing those stories. It really is fascinating. What would you say for people who are scared of insects? I just have to ask because, some people get freaked out, including myself, like even little frogs. But this is where we have to be more mindful, don't we? We have to slow down and be
Yes.
present.
Yeah, and there's reasons that people are scared for insects because there are insects that you don't want to handle because you might get bit. Although I had yellow jackets that were friends that were just hanging out on me and they weren't biting me. But unless you're really sure and trusting, you don't, because if you put some fear out, you might get bitten. Not because you're wrong or you have karma and nothing like that. It's just if I'm scared and I'm talking to someone, they might feel feared. It just goes back and forth, right? So I would say start with an insect that you feel more trusting about, like a butterfly. You're probably not afraid of There's, I don't know if in Costa Rica there's any biting butterflies, but I've never met a biting butterfly. I don't think there are. I just know in Costa Rica there's all different kinds of insects. But take an insect you're not, doesn't bite, isn't poisonous, and just like with an animal, start sending your love and gratitude and be open to communication. You'd be amazed. They're very high resonant beings, a lot of the insects. They do incredible light work.
Wow, thank you for that. I'm feeling chills, and I know everyone watching and listening to this are right there with you. We do
Yeah.
get that, and I know that there's some amazing stories out there. I love that one with the beetle and how you recognized it. And I keep hearing that song. Is it Paul McCartney? Someone's knocking on the door.
Yeah, that song, yeah. Someone's ringing a bell. Yeah,
Someone's
let them
ringing a bell. Do me a
in. Come in
favor,
favor.
open the door and let them in.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. I love that. And so, are animals or insects then, they're actually showing us something about ourselves. So, for
Yeah.
example, I know we can like make, so sometimes, okay, ants here. If we leave a bowl with a little bit of milk residue from cereal or something, within 2 hours, if you leave that out, it's covered with sugar ants. So that's interesting. And so we can say, all right, if any ant comes across my desk, I will boot you out. Can we do that? Or that's not so nice. Maybe we should turn the tables and ask more about what that lesson is. And so, do we go into the symbology of animals and insects and the totem symbology behind it?
Well, this is a personal question for each person to answer for themselves how you want to interact and relate to the world at large, to the beings in it. For myself, I love ants because I'm in awe of them because they're survivors. And I believe they're survivors because they work in community. I mean, they're one of the oldest races that we still see around, right, in this realm. And it seems to be because of their way of working together. However, I personally don't feel a need to have ants living in my home. There's plenty of places they can live. Um, so, I ask them not to live here.
Okay.
Everyone has to decide what they want to do with all that themselves. I'm not an advisor in that. I'm more of a communicator. And um, in terms of uh, symbology, I'm more of a just like who are you and what's here type. But those are all very important topics. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, okay, good, thank you. Because I know that, like just accepting all of it and being at one, but absolutely, if you don't want that insect or
yeah,
animals around, to communicate that with them.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so it almost seems like there would be a mirror, or they would, it would say there's something inside of us that is not loving, that needs to be more loving, perhaps, if that comes
Yes.
along the path.
Well, here's something personal. I did not do well with boundaries, and I felt a very deep resonance with Lemuria and the Divine Mother and unconditional love. So I just thought it was okay to just love everyone and trust everyone. So, it's been a lot of decades of hard knocks. Like I didn't learn the earth world easily. And when if I didn't get the lesson through humans, unfortunately, as if there wasn't enough tragic things that happened in my life, I still didn't get that I needed a different balance to be here on Earth. The animals started showing me. So that was the desert. So the rattlesnakes were coming close, and one went eye to eye cocked with one of my cats. Nothing bad happened. because I recognized there was a deeper teaching and warning being brought my way. And when I first moved to New Mexico for those years, a vinegaroon was walking across the floor, and I didn't know what vinegaroons were, and they're really not poisonous. They only squirt vinegar at you. It's like some surreal movie.
Is that a spider? Vinegar-roon? Is that a
They look kind of like a mixture of a spider and a lobster. I mean, I felt like I was in outer space, and I was quite
Wow.
concerned. I did not feel comfortable talking to the vinegaroon, I will admit. Until I found out what is that that's crawling, that's like this big. If you look them up, you'll see. Yeah, I felt like I was in some sci-fi movie, but the
I would
vinegar.
have screamed. Personally, I would have screamed. I would jump and
Oh, I
scream.
did. I grabbed my cat and we were locked in a bedroom for a while.
Okay, you're human too. That's your human coming out. Okay.
Yes. Um, but I do feel, and just candidly, then in Hawaii, I got a parasite problem. And I do feel, and I had by the time I got the parasite problem, I had a parasite problem. I had a severe problem with bad discernment and thinking everyone was the same. So some people that you can just be openly spacious with, that's great. Your energy moves back and forth. You're in the ground, they're in the ground, and it's a heart thing. But that's not what you can do with everyone in the world. So I did attract people who had issues of them, kind of taking energy in a not good way, and I was giving it out way too much. And so when I didn't get the balances and learning correct through my challenging human experiences, the animals and insects came in and taught me. Because no parasites are not allowed in my body, right? And when I heard myself say that to myself, I finally dawned on me, well, then why are people who have parasitic energies, I don't need to have a judgment about that, but why are they being allowed around? So that's all been cleared up. So thank you, parasites. I wish I'd cleared it up more easily. But yeah, the world is an amazing mirror, and it will intensify if something is not being noticed and adjusted. Yeah.
Okay. You know, I is there something that you can do, like maybe a meditation to help us each get into a flow, and so that we can communicate more? Is there something that you can lead us?
Yes, let's let that energy go and go back to a lighter, happier energy.
And I love how you brought forward the Lemurian energies because yes, you are very Lemurian and all is one and so to create boundaries and discernment in our world, that's a beautiful reminder. We don't want to go up to a poisonous snake or
Right.
anything that's dangerous,
Yes.
but then just to respect all life,
Yes.
still respecting all life in all the various forms that that may take.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. And then we can see the gift of all that was now I can see it coming very quickly. I can see all these kind of humans. We're all calling ourselves humans, and we're all very different. And with no judgment, I can navigate as I see, okay, that is not something to which I will give any energy. And so let's take a beautiful time for meditation. And if everyone could just focus into your heart. And whatever you feel or are or be when you're focused on your heart, let that be. There's nothing to do about it, but just breathe. And as you breathe, you might be seeing or hearing or feeling or sensing or knowing, or you might not know what you're doing. You might just be breathing. But as you breathe, you're going to let yourself drop right into that center place in your heart. As adjustments are being made, naturally you need not do a thing, but feel your feet on the earth and feel the sky above you and feel yourself located in your heart and also in your belly, just breathing. And as you breathe, you'll start to feel a feeling of welcoming. And as you feel that feeling of welcoming, know that you are encompassed and encapsulated in this time now. There is a protection right here. There's a deep, profound protection so that only love will be coming in. And love will be coming in from a specific animal or insect that would like to communicate with you. And for each of you hearing this, it will be a different animal or insect who's feeling a connection to you. And this might be an animal or insect that you've known or seen or are very close to, or it might be an animal or insect that you'll meet in the incarnate physical in the future, or it might be an animal or insect just who's out there somewhere in the ethers, somewhere in this world. But they're very telepathic, just like we use email, we use phone. They're on the phone and email just through a thought. They think of you as you put your heart out to them. So now just letting all the explanation go. You need not do a thing. You just breathe and drop into your heart and feel the piercing light, a bright light coming through, and you need not do a thing. As you start to sense an animal or an insect reaching out to you, you might feel, see, hear, or know them. Allow this being to be present with you, whoever, whatever this being is. Let your energy begin to shift like music playing as you allow this connection of heart with full protection within you, around you, inside you. The light is protection, the light itself. And allow yourself to drop more deeply into a heart-to-heart connection with whatever being is coming towards you. And just feel, hear, see that, and ask from your heart to theirs, is there something you would like to share? And the sharing can be anything. It might be a silence, it might be a wisdom, it might just be a greeting hello. And with your mind in service to your heart, letting yourself adjust, acquiesce to this experience, this awareness. This in itself shifts you, shifts the timeline into the future, into the past. Just like my beetle friend shifted all timelines by bringing the impossible to possible, causing a different resonance to become part of me forever. I thank you, my beetle friend, as I'm thanking all of you for opening your hearts and being resonant and willing to be with an animal or insect visitor. And now you'll hear silence for a moment because you'll have a time just to note what you're experiencing with whoever has approached you. Giving thanks as this experience continues. Giving thanks again. And if you feel you will want to deepen or continue the experience with this beloved animal or insect, just let them know that that would be something you would be happy to do and you would welcome their return. And then let them go. Let yourself go. Bring your focus back to you, just as you, and notice if something has shifted just subtly, if by being in touch with someone else in this way, some energy has shifted in some way, just lightly, subtly. It might be a gentleness, a peace, a joy, a kindness, a laughter. Note how that might make your whole body, organs, skin, brain, everything just a little different. That's what shifts a whole timeline. That little change causes all kinds of realities to change far into the future and back into the past. And so breathing in the love, breathing in the gratitude, feeling the gratitude of your connection to all beings of love, all masters of love everywhere, in all forms, from birds to dolphins to cats to trees to yourself to angels humans to humans that have come and gone, to the air, to the elements. It's feeling your love for so many different beings on this planet. We have so many costumes, so many cultures, so many different ways we do things. It's the same love. And when you're ready, with that love, you can open your eyes.
Oh, Laurie, thank you so much for that because, wow, that is a really effective and powerful way to communicate with all life, all things, not just the animals, not just insects. It was wonderful. All right. I encourage everyone watching and listening to use this in all ways. I am eager to really make this a regular practice with everything
Mm.
and move in peace. I got a profound peace from this, and
Good.
I do sense how a timeline shifted. So
Yeah,
it's hard to articulate, but I feel it and I sense it because
yeah,
I have shifted. And
yeah.
so again, I will share a little story. I would
Yes.
love your take on it as well. There's a number of stories. We can talk now about some animal stories that we've had. And
Yeah,
so in my meditation right here,
yeah,
um, we had a baby hawk
yeah,
last week come near us, and
yeah,
I was walking and I saw it, and it was on the ground, and its wings were spread out, and its mouth was open, and big hawk eyes. And so this baby hawk came to me,
yeah,
and it actually shifted my perception of it as I asked what
yeah,
it wanted to tell me. And
yeah,
so I'll share the story. What we did last week, we were concerned because when we looked at its wings, one wing, the feathers weren't expanded the way the others were.
yeah.
So we immediately judged it and labeled it. The bird can't fly. It's been injured. What's going on? Should we rescue it? Who do we take it to? What's going on?
Yeah.
And so one person picked it up and helped it get into a tree because it was on the ground. And his little hawk claw gripped really tight into the finger, which needed to have someone help and undo the little hawk claw. There was no blood drawn or anything.
Yeah,
And this baby hawk sat in the tree for a while, and then it turned around and it was there for a good maybe 2 hours. And then
yeah,
it left, it flew away.
yeah,
And then the next day,
yeah,
driving on a road right in front of where this happened, and
yeah,
it was on the ground in a pool of water, drinking the water.
yeah, yeah,
And we saw this baby hawk again.
yeah,
And my friend picked it up and put it in a tree again. And so that was the experience. Oh, and then the claw gripped the finger again, and we had to open the baby claw and get it off the person's finger.
yeah,
So in this meditation, what I got was
yeah.
so beautiful. And I wrote it down. Nothing needs fixing.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Nothing,
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
needs fixing. I'm fine. I'm
yeah,
probably a ground dweller. Nothing needs fixing.
yes,
Mm. And the grip was showing
yeah,
that I'm fine. I,
yeah,
so I
yeah,
thought that was really wonderful. And now I'm getting chills on this.
beautiful.
And
Yeah,
so again, if in the moment I had stopped and instead of what do we need to do? Do we need to rescue this baby bird? And just listen to that. And
Yeah.
perhaps maybe we did on a multidimensional level
Yeah. Yeah.
by
Something
just
happened.
putting
Yes.
it back
Like,
in the tree.
yes. 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 Thank
Wow.
you. What a beautiful experience. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very touching. Yes.
Oh my
It's,
goodness.
it's such one of the most important things we have to learn right now because many cultures have gotten into fixing each other. I mean, I come from a background I'm a doctor of psychology, I have an LMFT, and I'm at odds with a lot of my profession. I mean, I do it differently than a lot of people. We don't need to fix each other. Now,
That's an advanced perspective, and the healing that happens with your clients must come really rapidly then. You don't need years and years and years and years of therapy, do you?
with many clients. And then there is also the reality that things happen where, someone broke their arm, they want to go to the hospital, an animal had an ailment, they're asking for help. So neither you or I are saying not to help in those ways when that's what's needed. And so,
Mhm.
yes, lots of clients can do very fast work in the light, but I've learned to deeply respect when people come in and need to do something very slowly too, or when their system, those systems are valid for particular personalities and people when that is their belief system, even though it's not how I want to navigate myself so much. With some people, it's a beautiful growth, and I've learned eternal patience from people who do things in a long, slow way. And sometimes take those systems of psychology, which I have been at odds with, but show me, oh, well, I don't need to be, because for some people that they're beautiful. They work that way. Yeah. But what you said is absolutely true. There are people who come in just to shift really quick. We see it, it shifts itself, like what we're doing, right? Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm seeing now how this all relates, how slowing down, communicating with the animals will absolutely shift the timelines because
Yeah.
as you said, it's shifting us, it's shifting
Yeah.
our perspective. And
Yeah.
you can see how that ripples out and shifts all the timelines. I really do see that now because,
Yeah.
it kind of gets a little heady when you're thinking about timelines and timeline
Yeah.
jumping.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we're so in tune to the message, that message that we get, absolutely, I do see it. And we
Yeah.
don't know
You
what
just
timeline
did
it
it.
is, but it's the
It's
timeline of love.
Yeah, it's like the universe is the shaman. We don't have to be. That's what just happened, right? With you and the hawk story and you, right? It's like the universe takes over because we're being in love, we're being present in love, and then what needs to shift, we don't have to willfully maneuver it. That's what you're saying. We don't have to take 3 years to push it and prod it and change it. We can. That's okay. But if we're just being, a lot of things are knowing how to shift themselves.
Wow, okay. I'm going to invite you to share some stories, and I want to share a story. So maybe one of my stories will help invoke some other stories with you. There's a couple of examples. One of my favorites is this one morning I woke up and I heard a loud bang. It was very early in the morning. I thought it was my refrigerator, ice maker, and then I was like, no, that was louder than the ice maker. So I get up and I go searching. And I walk outside on the patio and I see a feathery lump. I thought this bird had died. It was motionless.
Yeah.
And instinct in me just said, start toning. So I started toning and I just toned and I kept hearing very loud in my mind, believe. That was something within me. And I looked around to see if anybody could hear me as I kept toning because I was a little embarrassed by it. I kept toning, and after 3 or 4 minutes, it was that long, this little ball of feathers popped up, eyes closed, and I see it's a little bird. It's a little baby bird. So I kept toning, and that's when I ran and I got my camera. I did. I ran and got my phone so I
Yeah.
could, because I was just like, oh wow, something just happened. It was lifeless. This bird was lifeless, not moving an inch, and it just popped up after a few minutes of toning. And then I kept toning. I kept toning, and I heard. I really had to get out of my head, but I kept hearing the toning change sounds like
Yeah.
getting deeper, changed sounds. Then the eyes of this bird pop open and it turns and it looks at me, and it was a baby owl. And it just turns and looks at me and is staring at me. I've got video of this. And
Ah,
then I kept toning. I noticed that the toning sound, not on my part, but the toning sound began to resemble an owl sound, like
wow.
hooting. And then
Yes.
it turns and it closes its eyes once again, and then it opens its eyes and it looks back at me, and it flew off.
Wow. Yeah, you're a midwife. You're birthing in the new realm. See this, the baby hawk, the baby owl. Everyone's lost. Where's the divine parent? What's going on? And we need to find our own divine parent. We need to find the resonance. We need to find the tones. And we can't do it with the will, like you said, the mind. It's the heart. That's what you just did twice. You didn't fix anyone. You just opened yourself to the divine, and you became like the divine mother and father, and then what was needed came through you, and then these little babies were okay. Isn't that
Wow,
amazing?
it is
That's
amazing.
incredible. And that's what we're doing. We're bringing in this new world, but we don't know how. We don't know how. So we have to be, it only can come through when we're in our innocence. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I love that. And so we encourage everyone to just sing and dance and tone
Yeah.
and be in the
Yeah.
heart. And here's an interesting story of opening to this. I remember I was taking a long road trip, and it was right in the pandemic, and when it was kind of getting wonky on all fronts. And before we left to go on this long road trip to another place to be outdoors in nature, these ravens were outside my office window.
Yeah.
Lots of them, enough to get my attention.
Yeah.
Those ravens or ravens, other ravens, as
Yeah.
we were on this road trip, it was like a 10-hour drive. I kept seeing ravens. Sometimes they were flying alongside the car. And I kept
Wow.
going
Wow.
in and passing in front of the car, in front of the car, in front of the car. And I got the message, stay in your heart. Because every time I would be out of my heart and in my head, worrying about the world,
Yeah.
the ravens. So
Wow.
that's really amazing. And I know ravens have deep spiritual value and
Yeah.
possibilities for everyone out there, but I
Yeah.
found that really amazing. Isn't that
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah, they helped you to, yes, that's so beautiful. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The animals just are so willing to be close to us when we're, like you keep saying, in the heart. And then the whole dream, the whole world, everything shifts the way it was meant to be, to
And
back
so
to the harmonies.
And that right there, getting that message, getting the message from the animals, I see how that works. That then shifted a timeline, because if
Yeah.
I need to stay in my head, maybe I would have had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Timelines would have been created that are not.
Yes. 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 Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Thank
And
you.
so your stories, I mean, I love the whale story that you had. I think that is really remarkable. I
Yeah.
think the most palpable would be our experiences with dolphins, those who have been fortunate to go swim with dolphins or even see whales out in nature.
Yeah.
Those are really palpable.
Yeah.
What other animal stories would you like to share on this?
Well, many people have heard of my cat Jessie, who reincarnated as Jessie Just Enjoy. And one of my books, it's been retitled to, again, it was called The Cat's Reincarnation and Unconditional Trust and Love. And it's been retitled, and many people knew Jessie Just Enjoy when he reincarnated. We had clients all over the world, and he worked with them, and there were people who would often say things like, I don't hear animals, but I hear Jesse Just Enjoy. And he told me this and that. How did he know me so well?
Wow.
So he he got tired. He became an elder. He gave so much to so many people. And I took care of him in his elder years, and he had some challenges. And when it was time for him to go, he told me, and he held on. He had a stroke, and he chose to stay for a significant amount of time after that stroke and have me care for him. And we talked about how he needed to be a baby, and he was being a baby, and he didn't have to take care of anyone. And when he said when he came back this time, he would be a child. And so when it was time for him to go, some animals like to go naturally and some like to get help. And he had gone into pain and he wanted me to get him help. So a beautiful vet came to the home, and he made it very clear that it was his time. And he sat in my lap and waited, and I
Yes.
held him. And when he passed, he went through me and out of me, and then he became a giant lion, and he was hugging me. And for a few weeks, I was here on my body. This was in the desert, but he was like kind of flying me around these other realms. And then he told me to go get him, that he was going to be coming in, about 4 hours away, and I drove up. And that's a story in itself. But the main thing I want to share about it is he came back and he said, "I'm back. I'm playing. Whee! I'm a child." And this was someone who everyone knew as this wise elder. And that's the role we were both playing at that time. Like, we're helping everyone, we're articulating for everyone. I was being this like guru type. So, and it was all very authentic and sincere. It was like to the core. It was my calling in those years. But we were tired. We were both tired. So he came back and someone called, "Oh, I heard Joey's back. I need some advice." He said, "I'm playing." I have these beautiful videos. He's a kitten running around the house. So he came back to do that. And then he told me that he was going to have a brother. And I was really surprised because it's always like the one cat, and we would do our thing together. So I was driving down the road one time, and the brother called me in. At that point, now Jesse Justin's Joy is named Baji, and Baji is now going on a little over a year. And this little kitten calls me, who's 2 months, to bring him home, and they just had love at first sight. Baji said, "We have a child," and in one day, he went from his year of playing Wii to taking care of little Bala. And then within months, they became equals and brothers. They're inseparable. They play all day. They hug each other all day. They bathe each other. And what's been most incredible to me is I didn't know this could happen, but I had been very worried when Baji kept telling me to get a brother. I was concerned, what if I don't love the brother as much as you? Because I've been doing this thing with Baji, who is Jesse Justin Joy, who is Jesse for lifetimes, the two of us for lifetimes. Well, his soul came in two bodies. So, and you hear of this sometime, like with twin flame people or stories like this, or once in a blue moon, you find someone who realized that part of their soul was having another experience in another body somewhere else. So he made it very clear. I called a few of my friends I trust the most, top of the line animal communicators. I was having an experience that this soul had now come in with two bodies, and one body, who we call Baji now. Baji was himself. He had all the memory of the past, like whales. He had all the memory of all his past lives. And then another aspect of his soul came in as innocence, very masterful, very a teacher of oneness, but not with any of the detail memory. More like the dolphins with the unconditional joy in the moment, Bala. And they have had this incredible relationship. The three of us work so deeply together. It was an amazing answer to prayer, because I was quite concerned that what if I don't love some other cat soul the way I love Baji? And so this is what happened. And because of course the mind jumped in and said, "This can't happen, Laurie, this can't happen." So I did call a couple of my most trusted animal communicator friends and said, "Have you noticed something unusual about Baji and Bala, or noticed anything?" And both of them had noticed that this soul had come in as two bodies. It's been an incredibly profound experience of rejuvenation and birth, because they both came in with this child-hearted way, and neither of them had any interest in taking on the wise healer role. anymore. And I've gone through such a rebirth and much more. I feel like a child. I'm still out there speaking, but not in the same. It's just a different aspect of myself has taken over and grown with them in this birth. It's been an amazing grace, an amazing gift I would have never asked for, expected, known could happen. Those kind of miracles are so profound. We always are talking about manifesting. How can we manifest what we desire? I'm all for that. But when the universe manifests, it's way beyond anything we would imagine. It's just fulfilling and incredible and rich, and of that love that we keep speaking about today.
I love that, Laurie. Thank you for sharing that story. We've heard that soul aspects can come in this way with humans, so it makes perfect sense that that happens with animals. And I've even sensed, like my dog, who we helped transition. Then we got another dog a few months later, and I noticed the former dog walking in. Is that true as well, that animals
Yeah.
can walk in and walk back out of
Yes,
different animals?
yes, with permission of everyone. So there can be soul switches if it's like divinely given permission, and then both involved give permission, or there can be visitations if all mentioned give permission. Yeah.
Yes, and so we recognize it because we recognize the energy. Like you said, we know the soul. You knew the soul of the beetle knocking on your door. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can sense that those who have lost animals that are very disheartened by it are taking great comfort in this because our animals are always there.
Yeah.
They are somehow showing them to us. They're guiding us. They can come back and reincarnate.
Yes. Yes.
That's an interesting story. I know we're almost out of time here, but I would love to hear that story of you finding the reincarnation of Jesse Justin Joy again, because you mentioned it was the pet was 4 hours away from you,
Yes. He
and
did
I've
this.
heard a similar story like this. It's absolutely fascinating. So what happened there for you?
Well, I had to interview 100 animals long distance, and people said, "Why did you create reality like that?" Because I've helped people who didn't have to do anything; it just all happened for them. And I
Okay.
said it was a reality. I asked Jesse just enjoy Baji, why did I don't remember creating it. What happened? And he said it was set up for me as a learning because each of those 100 interviews was an incredible gift. And
Wow.
finally, I found someone who said there would be a soul switch, and he was telling me from the other side. So I went up to Santa Fe. You know, they have beautiful animal shelter there. There's 100. I think there's a lot of animals. And I said, "Oh, I want to meet this one animal." And they said, "Well, we have lots of cats. Don't you want to meet?" No, this one. And I went in the room with and met that cat, and that cat was just ignoring me because the soul switch hadn't happened. And I
Oh,
looked at the cat and I said, do you know Jesse Just Enjoy, and do you want this to happen? The cat ran over to me. And so I
wow.
took the cat home, and the next day it was a 4 hours on my lap where the two traded souls. Now, it can happen in an instant, but with those two, it was 4 hours. And it was like a birth. It was beautiful. And and it was at the end of that when Baji said, "I'm here, I'm playing, we," and started running around and making clear to me, like, we're not doing what we did last life. This is a new life. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful wake up for all who have pets and watch them and help them transition and then bring new pets in. It really is wonderful. And
Yeah.
so our hearts are wide open from this. I really do love it. Thank you.
Thank
Your
you.
story of that, as you went around searching for the pets, it reminds me of the Dalai Lama and the process searching
Oh,
for the
looking, yeah,
reincarnated Dalai Lama.
yeah,
So, all right, it happens with all life. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
You
Yeah.
know, I wanted to mention there's stories. I have about 12 or 13 books. That's why I couldn't remember the name of one of them. But
Wow.
if people look up my books, there's a number of them that have beautiful stories about animals. Yeah.
Yeah. So for all those animal lovers out there, that'd be beautiful. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about your special offer and ways that people can work with you. Can you share? I know people are going to want to know do you do personal sessions on animal communication for people, or do you teach people, or what do you do when you work with clients for them? Tell us about your special offer, please.
Sure. And yes, you're right. I do lots of individual sessions by phone and by video phone, animal communication, personal transformation, manifestation, awakening, readings for people and animals on this side or the other. So this prosperity is about what we've been talking about, is kind of prosperity of love, of abundance, of miracles beyond what our will's imagining. And that's what we'll be working with in these individual sessions and this group time. So you will get to focus in a way that's just authentic to you. What's your heart asking for? Why, what are you needing? What do you need support with? What are you longing for? What are you wishing to shift? What animals are you wishing to talk to? It's all welcome, and it will all be embraced and worked with and facilitated in this offer, in your one-on-one time and your time with others. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a program that is usually, several $100s, and what we've got here is something that is a nice offering, making it very affordable for people. And so, to detail this, there's two individual 30-minute sessions. Those are private, right? And
Yes.
30-minute group classes. So it's just really supportive for people. It's more of a Q&A for the group, or what happens in these sessions?
In your one-on-ones, I'll be reading for you. I'll be coaching you. I will be in direct response to what you're asking to explore, to create, to heal, to manifest. And in the group situation, we'll be learning some tools, be given some meditations, and I'll be doing some group reading to help the unique beings that are there with that process. So it's anything you're really longing for. Are you longing to awaken more? Are you longing to open your heart to animal communication? Are you longing to make a change in something practical like your career or your health or your relation to others? Because I work with all of this, and this course and one-on-one is designed to meet you with what your heart is longing for, and provide a journey, a path to a deeper fulfillment and opening up to the miracles.
Beautiful. And you are yourself opening to miracles. You've just had a miracle in your life, right? We don't
Yeah,
have to get into it, but that's amazing. You have had a miracle in your life.
I've
So
had many. My life has just been constant miracles. I believe in miracles. Yes.
I believe in miracles. You sexy.
Life's a miracle, isn't it? That we exist is a miracle. But yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yes, we are each the miracle, I would say. Life is a miracle. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, there's a song, The Grateful Dead, I need a miracle every day.
I love it.
Miracles come from our love.
Yes.
This is what you're helping all of us to open up to with animal communication, or just the love of our hearts and being fully anchored in our love.
Yes. Yes. So I anticipate unexpected, beautiful miracles for those who participate in this offering. I'm very excited for all of you. I really am.
Wonderful. Okay, so to sum that up, it's two personal sessions, two private one-on-one personal sessions with Dr. Laurie Moore, and then four group calls, which submit questions for that because it's going to be more of what is unique for the group, but you've got some good techniques that you're going to share in meditations as well. So that's
Yes.
really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been lovely to be here. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Dr. Laurie. I know that you have shifted us. You've shifted timelines with us today, because everyone who's watching and listening and opening their heart in this way, communicating with the world in this way, has absolutely shifted our world more towards New Earth, more in the oneness that we all are. And that to me is another miracle. So
Yay,
thank you for
yay,
that.
yay, yay. we thank the whole universe, all the animals, all the insects, all the angels, all the masters, everyone who's here helping this. Yes.
Laurie, thank you so much. It has been wonderful, and we thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. I'm Lauren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.